Okay, so we can come to the component number, which one 9 was the last one, right? Delete was happening, okay, and it was going to the get user, delete, and click of that edit button, it was going to the API 4, that was from which component? That was from the API 4 was component number 10, I guess. Yeah, component number 10 was that was displaying the details of the user, as well as there was a edit option in the left hand side on the click on update. When we click on save button, change that, go to the hook 10 file, and below here written save user, we can write update user. Update user. Okay, now we have to write a function. We have to write a function. On button click, we need to call the function update user. On button click, we need to call the update user. So let's go up. Write a function here called update user. Update user equal to alert the user ID. Alert the user ID. Save the file. We'll call this button in the last. Hope your JSON server is already running. This problem for me. Update user is not defined. So const we need to apply here because it is a functional component. Okay, then this button update user function we are going to call in the last. Update user function we are going to call here on button click. On click equal to update user function you can call directly. So now button click update user alert is coming. API 4 file you can go. JSON API. List of users will come. Edit button click will go to the next page. Update button click alert is coming. Right. Next after that, when you modify the details here and click on update, here it should get changed as well as under the list also it will get changed. So for that, come up to the update user function. To the update user function. update user function, call the URL again. In the URL, variable URL equal to, you call the same URL here, plus ID, and below to that you have to give the details of user that you have added under the hook 9 page. In hook 9 page, the first one, this one. Okay, so in the hook 9 page, where, yeah, in hook 9 page only, we have created one array for new user that we required here. Because here also you are going to access the same full name, mobile, age, education, and everything. Now this all the details we have to submit to the server using the ID. You can see user/user ID we are passing. Now along with that, we have to write axios dot put, axios dot put. Okay, inside that URL has to go and new user variable should go. Okay, URL should go. So using put function, we can update the record. Using put function, you can update the record. Now come to the next below. We can write here dot send, then response. After that, you can display one message also. Update MSG. Inside we can write full name plus updated successfully. Name updated successfully. So URL should be with ID and details of all should come in array. Finally, axios.put function we need to call. Using the put function, we can update the record. We can display here in a paragraph using the class name, text center, and you can print inside MSG variable. So it will say username updated successfully. And if you go to the list page, you will see the content is modified. the content will get updated if you modify. In hook 10 page, you can use this function, write this function in hook 10. And on button click, you can pause the update here. Data will get updated and it will reflect in the next file. Suppose I will go for the Alex. Test. we have written BCA and MCA. Update. Test updated successfully. If I go to the list page, I should see the details of test BCMC is updated. Same time it will update in the JSON server also. Same time it will update in the JSON server. We can add a new user. So after that, coming here, I click the edit, we'll go here. You can see it's getting updated properly. If you delete anyone, it should get removed also from the list. So this is called edit update. You can say complete CRUD operation. Create, read, write, update, and delete. All for activity. Okay, then you have seen the properties as well. Save list, edit, delete. Next here, this is based on properties again, plus many more single dimensional, multi-dimensional. Fetching the data from the server. These all are under the class function. These all are under the functional component. Next, we have to see the class component. Using class component again, what are the difference will come while fetching the data from other server using functional component, how you wrote function. In class component, what you have to do? Small changes are there. Render remains same, function remains same, map remains same, the API functions remain same. Only the changes is of state management. There we have some life cycle function. That life cycle function is going to support your React project step by step. On every step, a different function will execute automatically, and that will complete the functionality. So next file will create under the class component. Again, once we enter under the Redux, Redux is only functional component only. Redux is based on everything functional component. So under the class folder, you will create the next file. You will give the file name called class1.js. Class1.js. class 1.js file. In class 1.js file, functional component, you can see you have called here separate component. Use state separate, use effect separate. Then some other place we have called different function also. In class component, we have one class. In that class, everything is written. In fact, here without calling this use state also we can write below. Not use state, the next method, the class component what we are going to implement. In that you can implement, you can import separate also, or you can not import separate also. Here we are importing the separate because these all are the different functions. Here in the class component, we have one class that will be a collection of multiple functions. Once we import that class, all the functions will come. Let's try that, how that look. So go under that class folder, class file, class1.js. Right inside, you can import one. This line will be similar. Instead of use state and use effect, something else will come here. Component is also part of React itself. Without importing also we can use below react.component. But if you import separately, we'll come to know, yes, I am importing on the top, so I can use it here. Next, you come down. So the component it is calling in the flower bracket separate, that is also a class itself, but it we have like the interface where some predefined functions are written and predefined variables are written. Those variable and function we are going to call from there and we are going to use inside our project. Whatever the functions are defined under that component class, those all functions are called a life cycle function, life cycle method. So in that, 5-6 functions are there that has the proper meaning. We will implement that. So you can go here and write a class. Write a class. You can write my class one, and this class has to extend the feature from the component. Which component? What we are calling on the top. In the component, C is capital. In component, C is capital. We will write here extends that component. Extends component. That represent the my class one is going to inherit all the feature from the component class. So what we have under the component class? Under the component class, we have list of functions defined and list of variable defined. That function and variable we are going to extend here and we are going to use for our program purpose, our project. That what we have the first function, life cycle function, that is called this one. Constructor. This is one life cycle function, and there is another life cycle function that is called render. RENDER, render. Now, in the class component, under the class component, whichever the input output we are going to do, it has to go through the render function only. So we can write here a single line. It used to do input and output. 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 it used to do input and output from and to user. From and to user. Like if you want to collect any input from user, we have to use the render function. If you want to display any output to the user, we have to use the render function. So render function is going to play the major important role. All the HTML code will come under the render function only. In the class component, you have written directly return, but here instead of return, we have to write as a render. Under the render, you are going to write the return. Division. Class name as container. T4. X3. Not a state management, you can write simple get and set a status example. Get and set a state management example. Okay. Okay, after that we'll write in the last call export my class one. This file we can call under the app.js file. In app.js file, it will load as usual. We can write here import next. After that, class one we can write here, and here also we can give a path called class one. We can come down and we can give a link somewhere. Root exact path class one, then we can call here my class one. Save now. This page should load in the browser. So here, class one, my class one, class one, my class one. Correct only. Must call super. Oh, problem is here. When we have used a constructor, because it is inheriting a feature from other class, so super will be compulsory here to call the constructor of parent class. Super will be required to call the constructor of parent class. Now it should not give any error. say simple get and set state example. Now come to the constructor and see how to create a state variable. How to create, how to, okay, before creating how to, let's keep an alert here. Call constructor is the one. This is the render is the second. We will keep alert both the places. And in that we can write some text. This is render. Now save the file and check once. See the sequence which function is calling first. First constructor should call and second render should call. What is the first alert? Constructor. So constructor will execute first, render will come second. Now we are going to use this sequence. First constructor will call, then first will create a variable. First constructor will call. So under the constructor, first we create a variable. This dot state. This is called how to create a state variable. This dot state. So a state is the predefined array that is coming from that class. Which class? Component class. You can see I have written this dot state saying like property of React dot component class. It's defined under this class called a component class. Now it has the set state function. These all are there. Life cycle functions are there. Now set state equal to in array object you will store some value inside. For example, let me go here. How we create the array? Similar way, suppose if I write here called counter 100. So counter becomes a key and the 100 becomes a value. But you cannot access counter directly. To access the counter, you must have to call the state. And state is the global variable of this particular class. It's coming from the parent component. So we have to apply the this dot state dot counter. Then it will give us the 100. And within this project, anywhere, this is within this file, anywhere, throughout this file, anywhere we can call this dot state dot counter. So suppose for example, if I come down and I use a h, suppose I use here called h1. Under the h1, if I try to print the counter age directly counter is complete because counter becomes a object is the part of a object array and array name is state and state is a global array is coming from the parent class component class. So you have to follow here this dot state dot variable name that is called. No need to call here call use state. State this dot state is one variable, one object. Using that we can maintain all the variable of your current class. Multiple variable we can manage only one. Like the array object. Check now what is the value. And text. It should print the 100 directly. This alert I will remove from here. Okay, it is printing 100. By default, it will give how much? Is a 100. So this way we can create a variable. Now create one more variable here. State variable. Just like the array object. We can write here one more call. CLIC. Click colon 0. So now one variable is called counter, another variable becomes a click. If you want to print the click here, we can write here the paragraph, the total clicks are this dot state dot click. This dot state dot this dot state dot click. Okay, check now. It will say the total clicks are 0. So this way we can create the state variable in class component. Now how to change the value of this variable? Like click is 0, counter is 100. If you want to change the value of counter, if you want to change the value of click, how to change that? So you cannot change it directly. React class component has given another function, set state. How we have seen the use state. Similar way here in the class component we have called set state. Using the set state component, we can change the value of using the set state function, not component. Using the set state function, we can change the value of a state variable. So for that, let's come and write another function. Okay, function one. Function one equal to const. No need to apply here. Directly fat arrow method. Right. Const. Okay. Inside the const, we can first keep as a alert. Alert is a high. Next, after that, come down and create a button. Create a button.
For this, we will not define const on line number 10.
Const is not required in the class component. Click to plus y. Now on click. On click equal to on click equal to this dot state dot one. Bootstrap classes you can call here will look better. btn hyphen info and m hyphen 4. From all the side 24 pixel will be there. One is out of the constructor. This dot state dot one. No, state is not required. This dot one. State is not required here. This dot one. Inside
class function, class component. Not the function.
there is a function only. No?
No, that is kind
Hmm.
of this function, normal function. We can
Function keyword is not need to write here. अब लिख के देखिए function keyword only fat arrow method. So alert is coming. Now after that, you can go here. In class, not only now, before also, when you learn the JavaScript class, inside the class, while writing the function, we have not used the function keyword. File open करके देखेंगे, you will find we have not used anywhere function keyword inside the class. Inside the class, when you write a function, it will come without function name. Okay, but under the React, it's come without function keyword. That is okay. Along with that, you have to use as a fat arrow method. Come next, right here, the function called set state. Set state. Function one we have written that we are calling on button click. That is our function. Inside we can do anything. So what we are going to do, we are going to change the value of this counter variable. So the counter variable is not a simple variable. It is the variable of state. So while creating the variable of state, you have used this dot state. Now while updating the value of state, you have to use this dot set state. Okay, set state. So what we'll write? This dot set state. Inside the set state, in the same as a JSON object, how you are passing here, the same way we have to follow the JSON object inside also, and under that, not JSON object, array object. Inside that, you can pass here again what value you want to modify, which variable we want to modify. We want to modify as a counter. So the counter variable we need to call here counter, counter. Inside counter, what you want to assign? Inside the counter, we want to assign counter plus 10. So again, how to access the counter variable? If you write here directly, you cannot, because counter is not a simple variable. Counter is a part of state. So we have to write here this dot state dot counter. And in that, what we want to do? We want to do plus by 10, plus 10. So this will call the set state function, and under the set state function, the whichever the object you have passed, if this state variable is exist here, then that the current value plus new value, old value plus new value will get added and assigned to the existing value. So it is like this. Concept is a equal to a plus b. The counter is the a, and again a plus b. So again a is the counter only, but you cannot access directly. It's a part of the state. So we have written this dot state dot counter plus the value of B, means the new value. What will happen if we update the value here? Check once your value is changing or not. Then we'll come to the render, how the render is getting called. Value is getting changed. On button click. See, when we click here, the value counter should get changed. But again, question is, we click on button call the function one call the state, this dot state modify the value of state. Then the printing you have done, the variable you are printing under the render function, and we have not called render function. How it is happening? You click on button, you call the function one. Function one has called the set state. Set state updated the value of counter. Now updated the value of counter under the script part, but render function have a line called this dot state dot counter. When you are clicking on button, the content is changing under the rounder under the render function. How that content is changing? Because whenever you do the changes under the state, go here. Let's keep a alert. That will help you. Okay. From render. Whenever number one first, when the page will load, render will call. Again, whenever you modify the value of a state variable, render will keep calling itself. It's like the callback function. Whenever you modify the value of a state variable, render will call automatically. Just keep a alert and go to the browser, click on button. Your value will change, no problem at all. But at the same time, alert will also come. Alert I have written purposefully under the render to understand yes when the alert will come. When the alert will come, what it represents? It represents yes, the render function is calling. When you click on button, the counter is getting update. The counter will update, that is okay, but render is also calling. So at this place, there is a small line to remember. You are changing the value of a state variable. What is the state variable? Counter. Counter is a state variable now. You are changing the value of a state variable using set state. Now under the set state function, it's not visible here, but under the set state function, wherever it is written under the component class, in that callback is the render function. After finishing the set state, at last it will be calling the render function. Then only when I go to the browser and 100 is there, default also render is called because it's a part of life cycle. Now when we go here and click on this, you can see first what is calling. Render is calling. When we click on button, render is not calling first. On button click, you call the function one. Function one has called the set state. Set state has modified the value. As soon as the set state will modify the value, the render will get called automatically. Once the render will come, render will check any variable is modified. Yes, one variable is modified. What modification? Display in the browser. Alert has come. If I'll do OK, here it will be. Whenever I click, right.
Set state, so that previous constructor set state will get updated, right?
Update. It will get updated by the new value.
New value. So there is no click in it.
Hmm?
Click will not exist in this after click. It will not exist.
Which one?
Click. So this is not state on the click to
Click we have not updated. Click is still old value only. Click is still holding the old value. We are going to update the value of click also. It is not updating the value of all the variable. It is updating the value of only one variable. That is called count. Your click exists still. Whenever you click on button, see constructor will not execute every time. Constructor will execute only one time at the time of page loading. A render will execute every time. Whenever you do the click, function will call and function will call the render. Constructor execute only one time in the beginning at the time of page loading. At the time of page loading. Constructor will not execute every time. Constructor get call when the page get loaded. After loading the page, what you are doing inside, constructor don't know anything. Constructor has loaded and it has given you the variable. Variable was defined with some initial value or without initial value. Now variable is exist. Throughout the project, you can use anywhere. Throughout the project, use anywhere. Now what happened? Initially, when the page has loaded, counter and click is defined and initialized with some value. When render has called, render saw okay, counter has some value or no value, whatever is there, just print it. Next button click, you call the function. Function came and function has not modified the value of constructor. Set state function has not modified the value of constructor. It has modified the value of a variable that is under the state, that name is called a counter. Now counter value got modified. Initial value was 100. On button click, at runtime it's become as 110. Now after modification the value, set state function will call the render automatically. Render will come, render will check what is the current value. The current value is 110. It will display here. Similar way, comma, you can write here, click also. Click colon, this dot, state dot, click plus 1. So now click will also increase and your counter will also increase. Click will also increase and counter will also increase.
in this set state we are recreating the state or
We are updating the value of the state. We are not recreating. This line I have written for that purpose only. No? A equal to A plus B. A was already exist. In the A, we are updating the value of A plus B. So what is the A? A is the counter. What is the B? B is the 10. After adding the value of counter plus B, it will update under the same variable called A. Write one more function below. Function 2. And in that, do is a minus. Minus 1 you can do, minus 10 you can do, anything. Click, let it be the same. One more button you can create and you can call the function 2. One more button you create and second button click, call the function 2. Now if we create one more button, click on that, it will decrease the value by 10. Come down below, button click, button click, call the function to click to minus by 10. Okay, so home working. Second button, first button. One button increase the value, second button decrease the value. It is just playing around the state and set state. Using the state, you define a variable. Using the set state, you are updating the variable. But both are not local variable. Set state is also coming from the component class, and the state is also coming from state is also coming from the counter class, component class. Okay, so we'll spend some time on class component. It is similar, only state management is different. State, how to maintain the value of a variable using a state, that point is different. Remaining all are same. Remaining all are same. Plus in this we have some predefined function. Example is saw one called constructor, second is saw called render. We have some more function that we will be implementing step by step.
We can define only the variables and render will do the modification and changes in that, sir.
Variable we can define under the constructor, and
Okay.
modification, everything can do within your function using the set state. Just variable
Like a-
definition should be under the constructor.
Okay, just like a Axios, AXIX, just we are doing update, delete, set, like set state, we are doing addition, multiplication, subtraction of this, sir.
Everything same, everything same. In that there is no changes at all. Only here changes you have how to take the value from the text box is one difference. And after that, how to maintain the state, that is another difference. And the third difference is like maintaining the state of the variable. The syntax wise are different. But reason
you-
to focus more on functional component is only one. In market, people follow the Redux. Redux is fully designed based on functional component. It is not designed on class component. Okay, so to follow the Redux, you must have to plus new project. Whichever the new projects are there in the market, people use the functional component. Okay, in one project itself, one file you will create using class component, and some file you will create using the functional component. There is no problem. You can use both the combination. I fixes the many problem of many people, so they are using both class component, functional component. One file class, another file component. Like you have created one listing page, user listing page. One person came one day with the problem. He has created listing using the class component and edit part using the functional component. I asked why you follow like this. He was in class component, I was not getting idea, so I follow the functional. So working very well. Okay, but in upcoming version, React 18 has already disabled the render function. So upcoming version, maybe they will say don't use the class component, use only function. Okay, then see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll learn like how to bring the data from other server, JSON server or JSON file using the class component. There one more lifecycle function will come, that is called use, not use, it's called uh, component did mount. Component did mount, same like the use effect. And then we have some more function. We'll see one by one.
So what is the meaning of life cycle? Life cycles are everywhere we are using in classes.
I have put the alert in the beginning. You saw the alert.
Yes, sir, alert for constructor and render.
Which has come first?
Constructor came first, sir. Next render will
That
came
render
next.
comes. That is called life cycle method. When a person will be born, he will not go for marriage. He has to cross 15-20 years. That is called life cycle method. After marriage, he has to go for the kids. After some time, he will become a old person. After some time, he will die. So this is called as what? Life cycle. Before 20 years, 25 years, you cannot go for marriage. Right? After 30 years, after 70 years, 80 years, you cannot go to the offices. That is what is what? Life cycle. Similar way, when you create a component under the React, each and every steps will be controlled by life cycle function. Now suppose in this file, the file we have created, in this file, first render should execute or constructor should execute. So leave what alert was coming first. First, which one should execute? We should print the variable or we should define the variable. What we should do first?
We should print the variables first.
We should define the variable. Correct?
Yeah.
So for that, what we have a separate function. That's called a constructor. Once the constructor will execute, the lifespan of a variable will start. That meaning variable got created. Now during the program, the variable will get modified according to need. So when it will get modified, before button click or after button click? After button click.
After button.
Correct. So that what will happen now? First, your constructor will execute, variable declaration definition will be ready. Next, after that, variable will get printed here. Next, according to user click, the variable, what will happen? The value of the variable will keep change. When you open the maybe YouTube, or you open some website called GoIndigo, or open some other website also. Okay. When you enter the value and click on go button or search button, for some time, what will happen? For some time, it will say, please wait loading, please wait processing, or some kind of shadow will come. It will feel like, okay, user should wait, something is going on, right? At that time, when the user has come first time, what was the screen? A screen was saying, please wait loading. That meaning variable was exist and variable having no value, so that another condition got fired and condition says like, please wait, variable is empty as of now. After some time, what will happen? From the backend data will come and assign to variable. As soon as the data will get assigned to variable will start printing the output. So in that process, how many steps you saw? Step number 1, when the page has loaded, it was showing as a please wait, or maybe something is going on. Data is not there. Screen is there, but placeholder is there, but it is empty. Okay. So at that time, if the variable will not be defined, it will throw the error saying like undefined variable. So the life cycle function says when the page will execute, what should happen first? Variable must be defined. Check inside the page. If the variable is empty, display a message, please wait loading. and in backend call the API, ask the API to bring the data, and after bringing the data, give to whom? Variable. You have seen already under the functional component, use effect was executing
Yes, sir.
when it was executing, not in the beginning. It was executing after some time.
After the sum.
That meaning what? When the HTML will be ready, placeholder will be ready, then data will come. Now suppose first data will come and variable is not exist. What will happen? It will throw the error. The one condition. Another condition, suppose first, if there is no life cycle method, what will happen? It will become mix up or not?
Yes, sir.
If the life cycle system is not there, what will happen? System will become a mix up. Someone will like suppose life cycle method is not implemented inside the page. Some developer will write first call the API. Some developer will write first display the HTML. Now suppose a developer has written first load the API. API will take 15 minutes to load. Now HTML is not there in the page. What he has written first? Before sending the HTML in the browser, he is calling the API. API took 3 minutes to load. Now user will be confused. What is happening? A screen is blank. Correct? So the complete flow becomes a reverse. API data is required when? First, let user to get busy. So for that, what to do? Load the page and display some basic information. Okay. User will click when? When the option will come. Before clicking, you are saying, okay, something is going on, hold on. Right? These all are called what? Life. No, in our life also you think, like when we are less than 10 years or 15 years or 18 years, we cannot go for certain works. Okay, we cannot go to the offices. Once we become as a 15 years, 18 years, 20 years, it is compulsory to work somewhere. That is called as what? Part of the life cycle method. Right? Once you become as a guardian, what will happen? You have to handle all the responsibility. That is called as what? Life cycle method. Okay. Once your children once your children started working, once you are free, you don't have any tension, no problem. You cannot go to office also. That is called what? Life cycle method. Once we become old, we have to take care of certain responsibility. That is called what? Life cycle method. Okay. A person who has the responsibility, he cannot sleep in home till 12 o'clock. That is against of life cycle method. A person has a responsibility, he has to get up in the morning 8 o'clock, he has to go to the work. That is called what? Life cycle. Similar way in the React also, what we have? Functions are there. That function is not made by us, it's a predefined function. That function says like, according to need, the function will execute automatically. And when the function will execute automatically, along with the function, you assign your task. So what will happen? Default function is going to execute, and according to stages, you will put your function inside. So your function will also execute. समझे कि नहीं? इससे देखिए अभी क्या लिखा? Constructor we have written.
लोडिंग सिंबल चाहिए जब तक डेटा लोड हो रहा है वो पार्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर में
That will not come under the constructor, no? That will come under the render. Render. You can check here. If the counter is 0, apply if condition here. Where? Before render. Before render, we have to apply a condition. If counter is 0, then data equal to, please wait processing. Else data equal to data of the API. Okay, वो मैं बता दूंगा, भारी चीज नहीं है. ठीक है, okay, then see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.